freaking go. Football cards collecting and investing. After a week off for Andy's vacation, we are absolutely back. It is the NFL draft week. We're going to tell you what you should do with your football cards in terms of buying and selling coming up. But right off the jump here, Andy, we are discussing a topic that we have discussed quite a bit on the show. Would you rather have a player in his new team's uniform, or would you rather have a more basic rookie card of that player in his initial uniform?
And I think it's interesting to preface that with, are you looking at it as a collector or an investor? Because I think that it's important to look at it as a collector, because I think that's going to, so when a player changes teams like that, I know that there's a lot of just like pure investors, but I don't think that there's nearly as many as there used to be. I think a lot of people are now kind of hybrids like us, so we like to collect. We also like to fund our PC and grow our PC by, investing in cards and flipping them when the opportunity presents itself. So, when I look at it from a collector's perspective, it just looks so much better, especially if there's a big color change. Like when Christian McCaffrey goes from the Panthers to the 49ers, man, it's like his Panthers cards, they just don't look good at all, especially if I'm a 49ers fan or a CMC fan. I really want to get something really nice of him in the 49ers uniform, as an example.
Yeah, especially when it's like such a huge brand increase, right? Going from the Panthers to the iconic 49ers. For me, Andy, I've dealt with this because I'm a Drew Brees guy, right? And his first stop with the Chargers is what nobody knows him for at all. Everybody knows him as a New Orleans Saints. So when I am buying Drew Brees cards, even though the rookie refractors and all of that is absolutely cool, I'm a Saints fan. I want his cards in a Saint uniform. So I'm looking for 07, 08 game-worn patches. I have one of them back here. That's what I personally like. So, I see Derek in the chat right here bringing up Trey Lance. That's what's going to be interesting. Trey Lance's next stop. I don't think he's going to play another down for the San Francisco 49ers. So you do begin to have to wonder, are people even going to want him in his 49ers uniform cards?
Yeah, when he literally only played a couple games, So much hype, though. The peak of his hype with the 49ers, and his prices have gone up. So I think this is one of the sneakiest plays to make this week, is just to sell those. Like, it's not actually to buy at this point, unless you're looking at electronic flipping platform. Like maybe you're going to take advantage of the eBay vault, or you're going to comc.com to where you can buy and sell instantaneously, because you just don't have time to get those in time to flip on draft night at this point. But I do think that's one of those trades that's pretty likely to happen, Carter. And I think I want to ask you, so if Trey Lance gets traded to the Houston Texans, let's say, because D'Amico Ryans, there's connections there, there could be a package deal for the 49ers and the Texans there. If he were to go to the Houston Texans, do you really think this is going to drive his prices up at all? And do you think he could exceed expectations in Houston, or are we going to need a better landing spot?
Yeah, I feel you would need a better landing spot than Houston, just because of the AFC quarterback hierarchy. And we're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers today as well. But it is absolutely insane how much the imbalance is when it comes to which conference has all the best quarterbacks, which is why I'm interested to see if any of these quarterbacks goes to the right NFC landing spot. But yeah, if Trey Lance went to the Houston Texans, there would obviously be an initial push. Houston's a big market. Obviously, they are a very QB hungry team. But yeah, I think landing spot is everything for Trey Lance, and he's going to a defensive minded head coach. So yeah, I just wouldn't feel great about that at all for Trey.
He's getting a lot of volume. You could see the PSA 10 of his base downers here with him running the ball. has a population of 2,407. Is actually 33 sales in the last month. And that's right up there with Trevor Lawrence in terms of population. Trevor Lawrence, 2,742, but Trevor Lawrence has got 71 sales in the past month with the average of around 70, like $60 to $70. So you could the reason that's why I think there's potential in the electronic flipping side of maybe Trey Lance if he has a decent landing spot. But man, yeah, going to the Houston Texans with how little he's proved on the NFL field, it doesn't exactly strike inspiration into the hearts of investors out there. Maybe there's some collectors though, and then there's always super fans of the player that just want both, right, Carter? They want the rookie card, they want the veteran card, they want any type of prism card. They want to collect a rainbow of that player, and they're pretty much collecting all of their cards regardless of it's rookie or veteran. But I imagine, I just think from an aesthetic standpoint, if you look at it as the art that it is, Christian Kirk is another great example on the Jags now, an ascending team, and he came from the Arizona Cardinals, who I think have ugly uniforms, and I think the Jags have much cooler uniforms, cooler colors, and just like, as a Jags fan, as a Christian Kirk fan, I'd really much rather have, cards of him now having the best season of his career with the Jags on an ascending team in the Jags uniforms.
Yeah, I want to shout out everybody in the chat right now. Perry, Frost, Messiah, Burliner, Family Burliner. I think it's a relatively new quester. And I want to shout out Mark and everybody that's just so happy we are back after a week hiatus. The Vikings would be a very fun landing spot, behind Kirk Cousins as well for him. But now, Andy, I want to get into the meat of this week. I have a few thoughts on this very subject, but the NFL draft is, of course, in 2 days. There is a lot of fluctuations of how this draft is actually going to play out next year. But from a football card perspective, both buying and selling, what would be a few tips you would give our viewers when it comes to the market?
Well, it's a great time. It's a great time to sell some cards at a profit, especially if players are going to be traded. Like we talked about Trey Lance, Mac Jones. You can absolutely. I think he's one of the other candidates that could potentially be packaged up and traded on draft night. The Patriots to move up, maybe grab one of these other elite quarterbacks in the draft. So my tip is to have the cards listed ready to go, especially if you've been ripping a newer product and you've got a lot of these younger guys, because the thing is, like, when it comes to speculation, there's a lot of buying decisions that are driven by this fear of missing out, of this FOMO, and you just got to be ready, man, because the thing is, the supply could flood the market once news drops. Then a lot of people will react and say, well, I want to sell my card. But if you already have yours listed and ready to go, and not for some astronomically higher price than what they're already at, I'm just talking about maybe going 10-15% higher. I don't necessarily see the same 200%, 300% increases in the market. It all depends on the card, of course. So, you kind of have to take that with a grain of salt. But at the same time, if it's like a PSA 10 based donruss, I just don't see that card for Trey Lance going from, $30 up to $100. It's possible, but I would say list it like in the neighborhood of 65, something like that, 60, and capture a nice profit.
Yeah, so I'll share a little perspective from a player. Now, I wasn't a player, but I was able to speak to two. One that will likely be a UDFA, and Jeray Jenkins, who was an LSU wide receiver. And I also spoke to Patrick Queen, who a lot of you are familiar with, the Baltimore Ravens linebacker. And, one thing I got from speaking to both of them, the players have, outside of the very, very, very powerful ones, they have very little clue what your futures can look like from year to year, right? The draft changes so much for so many people every single season. So understand that there is a lot of uncertainty that is, moving towards the future with pretty much everyone. We still don't know what the heck is even happening with Lamar Jackson. So I do agree with you, Andy. List those cards, have them ready to sell. if you're looking to move them, and don't wait for one big news cycle item to come across the news line, if you will. And one thing I am going to predict here, we did have this Aaron Rodgers trade that just happened. And, I am starting to believe a little bit more in Jordan Love, but I do think one thing could happen on draft night. If the Packers select JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba at 13, that move is going to generate a lot of buzz. He is more than likely going to be the first wide receiver to come off the board. And he would pair very nicely with Christian Watson, who is a true outside receiver, and he would be a very friendly slot. Also, a lot of Green Bay fans are waiting for the Packers to finally draft a first-round weapon. That's something that they have been begging for quite some time. I do think if they were to select JSN, who is very highly hyped, there's going to be another rush for Jordan Love cards. I really do believe it. Those kind of things, obviously, it's just a prediction if the Packers decide to go in that direction. I am not confident that any of the 12 teams ahead of them are going to be drafting receiver. So it would be very interesting to see if that would increase Jordan Love's prices up to this point. But that's just an example of how quickly things can turn for just basically anyone in the next 48 to 72 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. There's going to be quite a few surprises, I predict, on draft night. And Steve and I will be live streaming that, by the way. And if Carter's available, he may pop in there. We're gonna be live streaming the draft night, announcing every pick as they come in, and trying to do some live sniping on eBay potentially, and definitely looking at all the market analysis and intel. But I could see this because Jordan Love has not necessarily seen the response in the last 24 to 48 hours since the Aaron Rodgers official news dropped. And I think that's because we've kind of touched on this before, but when the initial news leaked, and including New York media base publishing this in their newspaper that Aaron Rodgers was going to become a Jet, it was kind of like, it was written in stone, but it just hadn't been officially put on paper. So, at that time, Jordan Love's cards did spike in anticipation he's going to be their starter, but there's still a lot of speculation. There's still so much uncertainty there that, his cards haven't gone wild. Now, at the same time, if you compare them to Tua, he's way ahead of Tua now. And Tua's got a lot more experience in the NFL, including some really impressive performances last year. But with the uncertainty around his fragility and whether or not he's going to retire and this and that, that definitely has moved a lot of people out of that market. A lot of those people are in the Jordan Love market. Some of his cards haven't taken a leap. For example, Carter, I bought this Phoenix Fireburst right here, PSA 10. For like $25, $30. I've gone really bold and listed it for $125. Going for this monster flip. Have not sold it. You can see that it's selling for right now $55 to $60. I don't think it's going to get up to $125. JSN is definitely going to help him out, but I still don't see that card maybe jumping up that much. So I've got to go in and adjust that price, especially if I want to move it draft night. I think I need to have that price more around $80. I could see somebody buying a PSA 10, a good-looking PSA 10 card. Even if it's a little bit lesser desirable set, that PSA 10 grade and the rookie card logo, nice prism finish, that's going to boost it up. That's going to put it on people's radars. And somebody's probably going to click that button for under triple digits, like if it's in the double digits somewhere. So it's moving. I think that you just have to kind of temper your expectations a little bit.
We say hi to Roland, my guy Chad D. He's always killing it. Congrats on the AR12 flip there, my man. HFS, good to see you as well. AZ all day, K1. And the Messiah. Lots of old and newbies coming by here today on a glorious live stream. So, Andy, the Aaron Rodgers deal is finally official. Once again, I always go back to him of the legendary quarterbacks. I think his football cards are always the weirdest out of any of the Hall of Fame multiple-time MVP guys because his iconic rookie card is him in a practice uniform. But overall, your thoughts on just the trade itself and also the Jets, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, they got some pieces now, Andy. Let's go.
Yeah, I would have liked to see I would have liked to see the contract be a little bit more performance driven. You know,
Right.
they have a conditional 2024 pick based on how many games he plays. I thought that was a little silly. Like I felt like it should have been more around performance. And I do basically see this as a Super Bowl or bust kind of scenario for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets.
Let me know what you guys think in the comment section right now. I am very curious because we talk about this quite a bit, the AFC versus NFC QBs. Do you believe the Jets are a lock to make the playoffs? Type Y for yes, type in for no in the live chat. And if you're watching this down the road, just answer that to yourself. Do you truly believe the Jets, Jets, the fighting Mike Greenbergs, the fighting Gary V's out there? Do you think they'll actually make a playoff push? I don't know. I mean, he's 39, Andy. 39. Did he even look good last year in your mind at all?
There were a couple games where he still looked pretty good, but then there were a lot of games where he didn't look good. There were some bad interceptions and a lot of miscommunication, and it's like, well, was that the rookie receivers? Was his mind not fully in it? Was he kind of mentally checked out with the Packers, kind of thing? But at the same time, it's like you're a competitor. You're playing at the highest level. It doesn't matter if you're and I did lose him. Well, RPA owner in the house.
Let's go. Huh? No, I'm with you. I'm totally with you. Andy, it's the Jets. It's the Jets. That's all there is to it, man. And I know we've got some big time Jets fans. Jets crazy 87. Always shout out to him. Andy, I don't know. I for some reason I just don't feel great about this. Even though I'm a Garrett Wilson guy, I do think Garrett's really good. He was my play of the week a few months ago, honestly, and actually a few weeks ago. But yeah, Andy, I don't know what it is. I just got a bad feeling in my stomach about this Jets thing. I really do.
Yeah, he's not Tom Brady. He's not Tom Brady. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I do find it interesting. It's definitely driven some new collectors into his market. It will continue to drive them. Like there was the big influx when everybody realized it was going to happen. Now that's written in stone. It's like we're on draft week. I think a lot of people are still getting amped up about the younger players. Like 2022 Bowman Chrome University is still one of the top selling top selling sealed products on blowout cards. So it's the timing of it is interesting. I think it's going to take a lot of overperformance, Super Bowl or bust type of situation for Aaron Rodgers in 2023.
So let us know in the comment section right now, what are you looking to buy over the next week? Or are you looking to sell any certain type of player? I would be very interested in what you guys have to say about that. I think at this point, Andy, and I know this is a live stream and a lot can change, I feel as if Bryce Young is a lock to the Carolina Panthers at this point. What's very interesting for me, and this is just something on your end as well, Andy, I'll speak on your behalf because we've promoted this product quite a bit. it will be interesting to see how these Bowman Chrome cards perform over the next week. Now that now that we're going to officially know the destination for a lot of these players.
Yeah, I mean that's it, man. This is the biggest storyline. We get a landing spot for these players, man, and um, you know it's gonna require you to be flexible and try and have some discipline on reacting to some of the news that will drop and wanting to impulsively buy something without doing a little bit of homework first.
I think Hendon Hooker is going to be very interesting over the next week for this reason. There's now some reports coming out that he is slipping into the first round. And I say slipping, I mean sneaking, finding a way to get into the first round coming off the ACL. Now, if you go look at Hendon Hooker autographs, it's a fun search, if you will. But man, I did on my Power Hour SEC channel, Andy. I did my final quarterback rankings, where I went through and listed how I feel about all the quarterbacks in the NFL draft. And Hooker, coming off the ACL, I actually had him as QB8. So as much as I loved him in college, and as much as I pushed him for having a big season this year, all of those things came out to be true. I am really worried about him at the next level. But if he does find his way into the back half of the first round, and I was talking to my buddy Scott Smith about this not too long ago. Scott's one of the smartest mock drafters out there. And there's a really good podcast he just released with Evan Silva and all these people that are smarter than me. Minnesota, I think in the back half of the first round would be pretty much one of the few teams that would be interested in getting a QB, but even then he would be a backup, for the first year or so. But if for some reason Anthony Richardson Hendon Hooker win in the first round, I think you could see some momentum for his cards.
Absolutely, because I've gone on eBay and I've compared his 2022 Bowman Chrome University, which is nice because a lot of the players that I've looked up, like when you start getting some of the deeper drafts, draft projections, QBs, running backs, they just don't even have any cards yet, man. They don't have any cards. So the fact that he does have the Bowman U Chrome first with the autos, and you can see they're currently selling for around $50. And
you've already seen a push. You've already seen the push, really.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So we talked about it because you and I think we looked at Hendon Hooker's rookie auto prices back in like November when he was balling out before he got hurt. You had me pull him up, and there was actually a spike in the demand for him then, and it has since cooled off to the point where he is absolutely a guy that could absolutely go up in value towards the beginning of the season, depending on landing spot. If he were to get his starting job, there's a big storyline brewing, Carter, and we don't know what these GMs and scouting staffs are thinking in the NFL. Like, is Hendon Hooker really seen as better than Will Levis or Anthony Richardson? Because there's big accuracy concerns with those two guys compared to Hendon Hooker.
Man, I was looking at it this morning, and I was going to get your opinion on this, Andy. One thing I thought that was very encouraging when I was looking at his autos and just going back, and I went to just make sure I wasn't seeing anything. You can go back to February, and you could see Hendon Hooker's prices, autos, college uniform stuff. Some of it was non-licensed, was in the 50s and 60s, and sometimes in the 70s. That is high. Like, that lets me know that there is some demand for college uniform cards. So it's very interesting. Now, what I want everyone to do in the comment section, I see Derek leading the way here. Who do you think out of these three quarterbacks are going to be the best? Anthony Richardson, Will Levis, or Hendon Hooker. Type A for Anthony Richardson, type W for Will Levis, type H for Hendon Hooker. I'm interested to see how everyone feels about them as quarterback prospects, because we do now, Andy. I think this is the first year we have seen licensed and unlicensed products sell like this for so many different quarterbacks. It is so fascinating to me because I'm a college football guy. I'm a college uniform guy. So I find this to be pretty fun.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's got a massive carryover to Dynasty Fantasy, and we're talking QBs, Dynasty Superflex Fantasy. It's almost like a direct correlation between the average draft position and of where these guys are being drafted, especially in Dynasty rookie drafts, where it's now your second, your third year of your Dynasty league, where you're just drafting amongst the rookie class, and these quarterbacks in Superflex leagues are going top. Like, there's a really close correlation between the draft capital, the speculation on how they're going to perform in the NFL. I think Hendon Hooker is a perfect guy to speculate could come out better than Will Levis or Anthony Richardson. He had I'm looking here, like Hendon Hooker had a 75.9% adjusted completion rate on his way to throwing 27 touchdowns and just 2 picks. And I know there's serious accuracy concerns with Will Levis and Anthony Richardson.
And, this comes from Josh here. There was a Redditor who floated out there that Will Levis is going to be the number 1 pick, and it fluctuated the betting markets. Levison's going to go number 1. I do think the Colts at number 4 is going to be a very real possibility for him. But, I just go back to the Anthony Richardson sale for $7K, the 1-of-1 super fractor, 7 freaking K. That is still, there it is right there. 7K, Andy Frederick Theodore Kaysen III. I know that was I didn't mean to give away your middle name there, but that is just, I still go back to it. It's still so insane to me.
Yeah, and that was a month ago, but you can still see 4 days ago, there was a big Kahuna Superfractor 101, that gold vinyl finish, which is just, it's just beautiful. For almost $3,000, man. I mean, so the hype is much higher right now for AR. It's much higher for Will Levis. It's much higher for Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. Hendon Hooker is totally being undervalued in the football card world at the moment. I mean, big time. And I'll tell you, like last year, these products right here were a pretty big source of like flipping revenue for me before the season. I was making profits on like my biggest success was Dameon Pierce last year before the season, but that doesn't mean that it can't happen. Like if I was if I had made a play on something, this is last year's quarterback class was not a good class to make a play on. In fact, you could have probably flipped Malik Willis before the season, but once the season started, that just his stock just kind of kept going downhill. So, but Kenny Pickett was viable, and obviously his stock is still doing very well because of his starting job status and everything. But these are the guys, because they get a lot of playing time during the preseason. They get a lot of hype in the training camp film, and this is going to be some of the best product out. There's going to be maybe some Chronicle draft picks that have some interesting cards in it for sure, that definitely have a lot of viability. But now that these cards are licensed, they look good. A lot of people have a lot of fandom for Topps and Bowman Chrome products. Product's going to do quite well, especially depending on the draft capital. There's pretty close correlation between how the prices fluctuate based on where they're picked in the draft.
I was going to say this for play of the week, Andy, but I'm going to go ahead and reveal it now because it kind of goes along with our topic today. I'm going to give you not one, but 2 players that I think have some real upside when it comes to their football cards. And that is Jordan Addison and Quentin Johnston. Okay. Now, why do I say that? I think, unlike in years past, these wide receivers are going to slide. And I'm just going to let you know, if Quentin Johnston or Jordan Addison goes to the Bills or the Chiefs, both teams, Andy, need, not want, need wide receivers. Okay. And I know the Chiefs won without elite wide receivers last year, but at some point, they're going to want to go get a weapon, another weapon for Patrick Mahomes on the outside. You can make a case that they have a bottom, this is crazy, a bottom 5, bottom 10 receiving core in the NFL. And the Bills absolutely positively need somebody across from Stephon Diggs. If those two go to either one of these teams, or Zay Flowers, if you will, that $19 card, I think, would double or at least go up 30 or so percent. So, because of their landing spots, just based on how I think this board is going to operate, once again, I'm listening to mock drafts. I'm paying attention to people that are way smarter than me. Scott Smith, Evan Silva, Ben Standig, the guys that have been doing this a long time. Remember, for wide receivers, oftentimes landing spot is more important than talent. There are few
Mm-hmm.
Jeffersons that exist out there that produce anywhere. And even then, he needs a quarterback. So there was someone in our Discord, once again, patreon.com/football cards, where you can sign up. You can reach out to Andy or I via DM. Um, TB12 actually reached out to me about Quentin Johnston not too long ago. Um, if either one of those two or just any of these first round ish wide receivers go to a Mahomes or Josh Allen team, watch out.
You're right. And the quarterback class is so deep that a lot of the focus is on them. It's on the Bijan Robinsons. It's on these crazy elite tight ends. Like, this is reportedly the best tight end class in the past decade. And you've only got one receiver right now that's kind of projected in the first round, and that's JSN. And the other guys are sliding. So I think there's a really good opportunity there for you to kind of zig when everybody else is zagging. And we know that wide receivers are one of the most important and valuable positions in today's NFL, but also in the football card market, like right behind quarterback. Man, wide receivers have so much potential to explode in value with just 1, 3, or 4 touchdown game as a rookie. And if they're in a landing spot with a quarterback that's competent, that can get them the ball in 3 or 4 touchdowns in one game as a rookie, or light them up in training camp, preseason, I mean, there's a massive potential right there for a spike in value that people will absolutely impulsively buy at a higher price, much higher than what they're currently selling at.
Yeah, and one weird thing about Quentin Johnston is you're going to get a lot of misspelled names with this cards. So, a lot of people spell Quentin differently. A lot of people spell Johnston differently because a lot of people are going to list it Quentin Johnson when it's Johnston. So what I would do if you are listing to get the maximum SEO is make sure you include both spellings in the listing itself, because it'll get picked up a little bit easier. So make sure you spell the name correctly, but also make sure you put the correct and incorrect spelling in the listing, and that could potentially help out the SEO aspect of the card. And you see, look at the difference there. Look at that.
Yeah, I had done it. I think I did it myself on the first search, and then I realized, oh, this is perfect because Carter just illustrated. There's a T. Johnston is not a typical spelling. You probably, a lot of people are thinking Johnson. Look, and they're moving too fast, and look at all these Quentin Johnsons.
Right.
Spelled wrong.
Yeah, and it trust me, I've gotten burned with this very thing because of TJ Watt. Same thing with CJ Stroud. We're getting a few CJ Stroud questions in here. TJ Watt is T.J. Watt. Okay. CJ Stroud is C.J. Stroud. Now, there's going to be so much volume for CJ Stroud that it'll still probably get picked up. But in the list, in not necessarily the listing, but in the description, I would make sure I write both of them in that, because it can get picked up, I feel, a little bit easier, or at least someone I know that knows SEO tells me that. So just a few tips for you right there before we get to another one here in a second. Hobby tip of the week. So let's get to a few of these questions, then we'll get into hobby tip of the week here. Jordan Love and Trey Lance from one of my PHLers, Joshua Forbes. We started actually talking about Trey Lance of today's live stream. So, and we also talked about Jordan Love a little bit earlier. So if you rewind, you can see us get to those segments. Let's answer this one from Stratman here. Any thoughts on CJ Stroud? Is he a buy? Once again, Andy, that comes down to landing spot. Let's say the Lions are sitting there and he slips to them. He doesn't start right away. They roll with Jared Goff, correct?
I think so. Yeah, I think if any quarterback goes to Lions, they're not a day one starter at all. They'll probably compete, but the Lions, there's a lot of loyalty. There's a lot of loyalty to the personnel managers, the Dan Campbell biting kneecap, warriors up there, so you can't scoff at Goff.
This is something I found to be very interesting. Atlanta at 8 is sitting pretty nice if quarterbacks continue to slip. I've seen a mock draft or two, CJ Stroud to the Falcons at 8 or Anthony Richardson to the Falcons at 8. That is far more immediate playing time, Andy, with Desmond Ridder sitting right there.
I think that's a very exciting landing spot. I think that's another super interesting storyline in this draft. How high will teams draft Bijan Robinson? Because there's been a lot of connections of Bijan Robinson to the Falcons. And that's a really, really high for a running back. But the Falcons ran the ball more than any other team in the NFL last year. So, it's another very interesting. I think, Carter, in my opinion, the most exciting kind of like early to middle round team landing spot for a quarterback is going to be the Raiders. Like, if the Raiders draft a quarterback, because Jimmy Garoppolo's not making starting quarterback money, they didn't give him a starting quarterback contract, and they've got Jared Stidham, but it's like they've got a couple of platoon guys. I could absolutely see them drafting a quarterback, and hey. If one of these rookie quarterbacks go to the Raiders and gets Devontae Adams, that's going to be an immediate massive hype spike and expectation boost.
Low-key Jacoby Myers, the 3-year, $33 million deal he signed there, that is a very QB-friendly receiver to pair with Devontae Adams as well. I still think Jacoby's got some juice. So, yeah, I do like that spot. And yeah, you've heard the different things as basic wholesale cards brings up and ML brings up. I think CJ can play. He's a number 3 quarterback on my board right now. But for me, Andy, the way that I see it, the film and analysis that I did, and speaking to people I trust, scouts and all that stuff, Bryce Young is on a tier of his own for me. And after that, it's Anthony Richardson and then Stroud. I think Stroud is a better player right now than Anthony Richardson, but I think AR's upside is enough for me to take him over CJ Stroud. So, yeah, my orders are a little bit different. I think DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, is a very interesting guy. He's in my top 5 right now, and he is also in Bowman U. Now, there's not a lot of people that like DTR as much as I do, but still, it's just something to keep an eye out for. Forbes here, should we dump our Zach Wilson cards or is it too late? LOL.
I think you hold them at this point. You just, your window for dumping them has totally missed. I think you got to hold them in case Aaron Rodgers gets hurt and they got to start Zach Wilson and maybe he flashes in a game, You never know. They could go to the playoffs and Aaron Rodgers could get hurt, and then Zach Wilson's got to play in the playoffs, and all of a sudden there's a spike in his cards, and that's your opportunity. But at this point, man, I wouldn't sub draft, probably because they're going for so cheap now, man. I mean, he's the bottom of the barrel for that draft class now.
Lots of supply, lots of people holding the bag. They're trying to unload him right now. I agree, Andy. And if he goes to a new landing spot, it'll be a little bit of a Baker Mayfield effect. You'll see a little push if he just signs with somebody new, even though Baker gave you something in Cleveland. Wilson has given you absolutely nothing. So it's just more so a warning, because we saw the vloggers do this, buying these Zach Wilson cards for 2K, 3K, and it was silly. We called it out at the time, and it's just how it is. You don't do anything that stupid. But yeah, it's Andy, this is painful for me to look at this. Oh
yeah,
no.
$14, $15 PSA 10 based honors, compared to the Trevor Lawrence at 75, Justin Fields at 75, the Trey Lance, we looked at around 40. So yeah, I mean he's got to be around the same as Davis Mills, and maybe you could make a trade. Carter, which one would you rather have in your collection at this point, Zach Wilson or Davis Mills?
Give me the long neck. Give me the Stanford legend. Give me the former 5-star Davis Mills, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I would agree as well. I think we saw a lot more out of Davis Mills to be excited about than Zach Wilson in his short time in the NFL.
All righty. So I highly recommend you join the Patreon, patreon.com/football cards. We're both big time underdog fantasy people. Make sure you hit us up in the Discord if you have any super flex or just flex questions. There's some fantasy footballers in there. Chat a lot of fantasy with Derek Richard in the Discord, so make sure you check it out. Let's get into hobby tip of the week here, Andy, and I'll start. So this past weekend, I was a vendor, quote unquote, not quite vendor, for a card show in Bossier, which is North Louisiana. And I was there also to do interviews with Patrick Queen, Dre Jenkins, who is probably going to be a UDFA wide receiver in this draft, and Michaela Williams, who will be a future WNBA pick. But also I was there, selling cards, giving it away to subscribers and all of that. And my tip is, number one, if you are contemplating being a vendor at a card show or setting up at a card show, do it. Pay the amount for however many tables. It could vary anywhere from $50 to $100, $150, just depending on the show and the tables and all of that, how many days the show is. Number one, set up. Number two, set up with someone else at your booth. It is extremely hard to solo it behind your booth if you especially want to walk around at the show. Now, you can solo it. A lot of people do. They're the only person, at their booth. But there's nothing funner than walking around at a show while also at the same time being set up. And then obviously theft happens. So, especially if you're going to have a lot of cards set up, you want to have someone there just to watch your stuff or help out. Even if they're not the ones that can say the final say and whether or not that card can sell, they can call you and say, hey, come back. There's someone here ready to drop $1,000 on this Garrett Wilson gold card. So if you want to set up at a show, do it. It's a lot of fun. But if you can, and look, Andy, it can even be your wife, your girlfriend, your cousin who doesn't care about cards. Having somebody else there is worth paying them $50, or it's worth taking the wife out to a nice dinner, because it just gives you a bigger peace of mind.
I think a wingman, a wing person is critical, man. I love that tip, because a wing person just gives you so much more flexibility, gives you a second set of eyes. I mean, it's almost priceless to have a wing person or a wingman at a card show with you.
It's a killer. But one other thing. Okay, so there was someone that walked up to my booth, and Andy, as you know, I'm a Garrett Wilson fan. I like him. I'm not in love with him, but I like him. I think he's really good, and I think he'll make Pro Bowls. But he had a gold number to 10 Garrett Wilson Prism rookie that he pulled in a one touch. And he walked up to me and said, "Hey, I'm looking to sell this for $1,000." Okay. So I looked at it, and he had it in a dirty one touch. Like it was scratched up one touch. And obviously, this is pretty straightforward. Don't do that. Like if you are trying to, even a $100 transaction, make sure that that card is in a nice one touch if you are going to sell it for that amount of money. But yeah, go set up at a show. It's a lot of fun. Andy, your tip of the week.
Well, the tip of the week is, market has stabilized. Not a lot of new products coming out right now. You do have one new product that just released is Panini Playbook. They've got these giant booklets in it. Probably not anything game worn, patches, anything like that. So don't overvalue those. Don't spend too much on this product. It's not one of the most desirable products. It's kind of down there on the list. They make some interesting cards. Obviously, stick with the rookie autograph, the serial number cards, the rare ones that look really nice. And in terms of bestsellers, don't forget you can get an Adrian Peterson rookie ticket auto for just a couple $100 or less in some auctions, and that comes out of 2007 playoff contenders, where you could also pull some other stuff, and they run sales. Sometimes on blowout cards. So like right now, you can get a playoff contenders from 2007 hobby box for $175. And it's just a good reminder that while everybody is hyper focused on the brand new players coming into the NFL and the super young guys that are driving a lot of fear of missing out, these Hall of Famers, these legendary GOATs cards are going undervalued. So like Marshawn Lynch in here, Adrian Peterson, Calvin Johnson. So good time to maybe capitalize on some of this as well. Ooh. If you're not into the super speculative prospecting that comes with a lot more risk than these guys do.
That would kind of just be a fun box to just buy and just store, if you will. I know there's no legendary QBs in there, but yeah, I mean, still, it's
four autographs. I was comparing the price of Adrian Peterson's rookie ticket autos to that of Breece Hall, and I'm like, wow, man. I mean, the Breece Hall is like, his rookie ticket autos are going for a lot of money right now.
Ooh, coming off that injury too. Very, very, very interesting. So before we get into play of the week, we'll answer a few questions. Okay, so we have Family Burliner, who's been very active. I have been the president of the Traylon Burks hype cycle for quite some time. I just hate that quarterback situation for him, but let's hope Ryan Tannehill can come back and do his thing. But Family Burliner says, I am digging some Traylon Burks. So there you go.
Now is the time to buy Traylon Burks. 100 freaking % Carter. His prices are so cheap compared to any other first round draft pick. This is a 101 sold March 20th, so $4,000. But if you look at like just a normal respectable card here, we're like an immaculate out of 25. This is like a sick card that should be well over $100. Rookie ticket auto for $30. I mean, those prices are very, very good. There is a chance that the Titans trade Ryan Tannehill. They can save something like $18 million in cap space next year. I don't think they're committed to him long term. Like he's on. This is basically at the final year of Ryan Tannehill's contract, if I remember correctly, and they do have an out, and it would save him like $18 million. You obviously know that Malik Willis, he's in jeopardy of being cut from the team. So the Titans could be one of those teams that figured out a way to get a quarterback in the draft. Traylon Burks, he's got such a bright future in the NFL. I think this is a great time to look at investing in him.
The only issue I have with Family Burliner here is the cat. I can't stand cat people. It's all about the dogs, baby. I hope you have dogs as well, but yeah, let's go to my guy Forbes PHL subscriber. Best box of cards for under $50. Andy, I'll go first. I'm just gonna say it 1,000 times over. Bow and U blaster. You can go to the store, you can get it. But I think after tax it'll be 30, $35. Joshua's a big college uniform guy. I know it's college uniform cards. That's just the funnest rip for me. But Andy, I guess in a pro uniform, best box you can get for under $50 would be maybe a mega. I don't know.
It's interesting because there's things like 2016 Donruss hanger pack for $20. Maybe a couple of those, or 2021 Mosaic Blaster for $43. There's some interesting sales they run on Blowout. I also saw a video from a reputable source that there's sports cards at Dick's Sporting Goods, and they actually had boxes of 2021 Optic on the shelf for normal retail prices. 2021 Optic, that's loaded with hits. It's loaded with your elite QB draft class. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, so I mean, there's a lot of opportunity there in that box. Jamar Chase, there's all the skill position guys from 2021. So I would say check out some of those lesser known resources. It's not always just what they have at Walmart and Target. You could go to Blowout Cards, you go to Steel City Collectibles, check out Dick's Sporting Goods, maybe Barnes and Nobles has something, and you never know when they get like they make a deal with whether it's Panini or whether one of these distributors, and they have some backstock of cards from last year's draft class, or maybe even 2020, like 2020 Playbook. I know we just talked about Playbook as being lesser desirable, but if you pull a Joe Burrow out of there, then it's going to probably pay for that hanger pack, especially if it's in good condition.
And basically, I'm not a hater of cats. I was just kidding with Berliner. And look who comes out of the woodworks here. I shat him out earlier in the live stream. He doesn't come to any chat until it's finally something happy to talk about his Jets. Jets Crazy 87 is back in the chat. I'm still shocked. You still listen. I thought he was down and out for the count. Look at that. Let's go.
He's celebrating right now. He's celebrating. He's excited about the Aaron Rodgers. He's already got his Aaron Rodgers PSA 10 that he found from childhood. He's probably pumped that he saved, man. And all I have is a cat, Carter. I guess technically I'm a cat guy because I don't have a dog. I just have one.
Wait, you don't have a dog? I thought you told me you had a dog.
Oh, we're actually thinking about getting a dog. Well,
that's what it was.
It's in our plans. My kids. My daughter wants us to have another kid. She wants a little sister. So I think we're trying to negotiate and get a little puppy, a little girl puppy. I think that's a nice meet in the middle. Because I only have two hands, man. I only have two hands. Then I have to upgrade and get a minivan. There's a lot of changes if you have a third kid that I know Jets Crazy is familiar with. I think he's got 4 or 5.
Play of the week here, Andy. I'm going to keep it simple because I already gave mine earlier. Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers. If you've pulled them from Bowman U, be ready, because if they go in the back end of the first round to one of these teams that are wide receiver needy, and there are elite quarterbacks in the back end of the first round that need weapons. Herbert, they're trying to get younger at wide receiver. Especially if Michael Mayer is also someone else that could go and back into the first round. Herbert, obviously the Chiefs can upgrade their receivers, and obviously the Bills. So with some of these elite wide receivers sliding a little bit here, there could be some major opportunity for upward growth for those players, and we touched on that earlier. Andy, your play of the week.
I think it's also important. Like, I know JSN's a complimentary role for Christian Watson, but I just don't see Christian Watson having the year that he did in his rookie year with Jordan Love. So I'm in the camp of sell Christian Watson now. Like, Christian Watson values, I think, are at probably going to be his all-time high. It's kind of like Chase Claypool after his rookie season. That's one of my big sneaky plays this week is to recommend if you've got any Christian Watson cards, like move them for just take what the comps are selling for now, because I think there's a high possibility they go down like this time in November. Like fast forward to November of this year, I think you can get them for half of what they're selling for now.
You just called Christian Watson Chase Claypool? Andy coming in with the flamethrower here. I love it. I really, really, really do. But there you go. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to answer as many questions here at the end. One thing you can do as well, if you found this to be entertaining, there is a super chat button. All the money goes to, of course, Andy and all the content that he is producing here on the Football Card Quest. So if you have a question, we'll go straight to it here at the end. Okay, go ahead, Andy.
So my actual play, my buy this week for you guys is actually going to be a former LSU player. And it's a guy who had insane target competition, struggled with injuries a little bit, but the guy is super talented. He plays for the Carolina Panthers. He was drafted by the Carolina Panthers in the second round. Terrace Marshall. All right. The guy runs a 4.45. I mean, he's got a really good height-adjusted speed score. He's 6'2", 205. And he is now that the Carolina Panthers have parted ways with DJ Moore. I know they brought in DJ Chark. But when you look at Terrace Marshall's rookie product and you combine that with the fact that the Carolina Panthers are 100% drafting a quarterback that's going to provide a ton of upside, and this should be a career season with now the experience and the decreasing the target competition. There's more vacated targets, these massive QB upgrade, and now he's heading into like a true like full utilization year with the Carolina Panthers on his rookie contract. I think this is a guy that's going undervalued in fantasy and football cards. I want to get me some Terrace Marshall rookie ticket autos for like $10, Carter. Like it's just dirt cheap right now. And I think this is the time you go ahead and buy him.
I'm a TM6 collector, not as much as some of the other LSU guys, obviously, but I like it. I do. I think, he had some sick grabs. He had one last year that was just filthy. And when he started getting more targets, he's had the absolute worst quarterback play you can find. Watch out. Former 5-star recruit, member of the greatest college football team of all time. Played at the best school of all time. How about that? So there you go. Let's go to the super chat here. Oh, this is funny. Where did Trey Lance's hair go? Andy, you're an expert, obviously, in this field. You let me know.
Yep. I've got a feeling we're gonna see D'Amico Ryans come out with the Trey Lance Jerry curl week 1.
I love it. Yeah, so he took that photo with Dante Moore, who's a 5-star QB starting his career at UCLA. And he took a photo with Patrick Mahomes. Both of them have immaculate hair. And Trey Lance's hairline is like, if you thought LeBron's was brutal, at least LeBron's in his upper 30s. Trey Lance, I don't even want to put it on the screen. But yeah, I don't know. It is one of the more bizarre hairlines I have ever seen. C2 Coins and Collectibles. Hot take right here. Matt Corral is the next big QB. Andy?
Whoa. That's a very bold, like seriously speculative take that, oh man, I mean, he's got an interesting story and he was a gunslinger in college, right? Like he's not afraid to take shots. So he's gonna YOLO. he's gonna sling it. I mean, he was terribly inaccurate throughout the Panthers training camp process and everything last year. Like I remember watching a lot of their footage, and Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold were blowing him out of the water. And I know he was a rookie, but still, like I don't see him ever being more than a platoon backup guy who maybe gets a spot start here and there.
Yeah, Matt Corral's not an elite runner, but if you actually look at his best year at Ole Miss, a lot of his success was actually in Lane Kiffin's like power QB run schemes, and that just banged him up. And then he was hurt towards the end of his career at Ole Miss. Then he gets hurt this first year at Carolina. I could never really say when he was at the SEC level that he was a top 3 quarterback in the conference. So, yeah, I'm not buying the Matt Corral thing. I've seen some of this stuff go high. I think I've seen his one-of-ones surface and Prism. But yeah, I am out. And here we go. We got the hairline action going here. Whoa. Trey, my brother. Just go bald, man. I don't even know what's going on here.
Yeah, it's definitely got something odd going on there in the front. And hey, man, I'm bald, so there comes a point where you gotta just embrace it and shave it. Just gotta embrace it and shave it off.
Just let it rip, Trey. Let's get rid of it. So Troy's trying to start a fight at the end here. LSU was very good that year, but not the best ever. Come on. Come on, Troy.
Not the best LSU team ever, or not the best college football team ever? Like,
no, they're the best college football team ever. The best ever.
I mean, I'm not going to argue with you.
They're the best ever. Let's be real here. There are some other good teams. You can argue 02 Miami, 2020 Bama was also really good. This last year's Georgia team was really good. But it's 2019 LSU. Okay. A few more here. Bears should have drafted a QB. Fields will be a bust. I don't think he's going to be a bust.
I don't either. I just think with the rushing talent that he displayed last year, I think he's just going to progress in the passing game, and he's got a nice deep ball. Like, you watch the guy throw a deep ball, he's good. Now you add an alpha wide receiver, and he still had no offensive line last year, and like middle, like decent coaching. They didn't really figure out how to build around his strengths until like halfway through the season, and we started seeing some pretty impressive performances from. So I think from that standpoint alone, like, man, I would go out on a limb and say that Justin Fields has just as much potential as Lamar Jackson in this league. And if you think Lamar Jackson's a bust, then I don't know what to say. He's had an MVP season, so I think that potential is there for Justin Fields as well.
Really? Wow.
I do. Yeah.
I Fields was my QB1 in that draft class. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he'll ever get on Lamar's level as a pocket passer. But we'll see. He's got DJ Moore now. So now DJ. It's put up or shut up time for both of them. Let's go to Scove right here. Big shout out to have him back in here. In Garrett Wilson, if Garrett Wilson puts up over 1,000 yards with Flacco, Wilson, and White throwing the ball, what's your prediction for 23 stars with Rodgers?
He's like how he put 23 starts. I think he meant to say starts because he's counting the playoffs. He's already anticipating his team to go to the Super Bowl.
Well, I like it. I like it. I like him. I'm just a Garrett Wilson believer. I really am. So yeah, I'm to the moon with Garrett Wilson. It's interesting, bringing in a little underdog flavor in here. Are you drafting him, Andy, over Amon-Ra right now, or how you feeling about that?
It's going to be very close. Honestly, obviously, Aaron Rodgers is going to do a lot for Garrett Wilson, right? I mean, and you look at the depth chart competition. Now they did bring in Allen Lazard, so already got chemistry with Rodgers. You've got Mecole Hardman, which adds speed, but Garrett Wilson is still your clear alpha, right? He's still going to be your clear alpha. He was so good last year, quarterback proof. They get rid of Elijah Moore. So with him putting up 1,100 yards, 1,100 receiving yards last year with that ragtag group of quarterbacks that they had, I mean, I could easily see him going over 1,500 yards and double-digit touchdowns, which in my book, that would put him above Amon-Ra St. Brown. I see Amon-Ra St. Brown as a great PPR guy, can surpass that 100 reception mark, can surpass 1,000 receptions or 1,000 receiving yards, but I can't see him equaling the same amount of touchdowns. He definitely doesn't have the same touchdown potential or touchdown upside that Garrett Wilson has. Now, other thing, Carter, we didn't talk about is the fact Jameson Williams has now been suspended for the first 6 weeks of the season due to gambling on college football. So he got lucky, right? He could have been suspended indefinitely with those other guys who got caught gambling on NFL games, like knuckleheads. I mean, did you see what happened to Calvin Ridley? It's crazy. But first 6 games, so that is a boost for Amon-Ra St. Brown because there's no DJ Chark there. There was another Quintez Cephas, so another one of those wide receivers in Detroit, suspended. So I think this is a boost, at least and definitely in the beginning, for David Montgomery, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, those are the main guys I think in Detroit. They're gonna have big seasons, but the touchdown.
Don't sleep on Swift. I still think DeAndre Swift can play. I still think so. And obviously, there's always just been this thing. Why doesn't he get more touches? There's got to be something. I mean, I know he's hurt a bunch, but I still believe him. But, I mean, would I draft Garrett Wilson over the Sun God right now? Man, I would say that I would because, I think Wilson does give me more upside here.
I mean, I think you could take Garrett Wilson at the beginning to middle of the second round. Like I wouldn't take him over Devontae Adams or probably not Stephon Diggs. Some of these other elite for. Obviously, I'm not going to take him over Jamar Chase. I may not even take him over T. Higgins, honestly. It's just that passing game is so good in Cincinnati. But I mean, it's tough because you get a lot of you have a lot of confidence and security. But I think Garrett Wilson is you could probably I'm guessing that we'll see some people draft Garrett Wilson at the end of the first round by August. And can't forget about CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb, obviously he's now at the end of the first round. So
I've always loved CD's signature. I've just always loved the that look.
But in comparison, Carter. Oh, go ahead.
No. Go on it. Go.
Garrett Wilson's twin, Chris Olave, he gets a quarterback. I know Derek's not a fan of Derek Carr, but Derek Carr is definitely a big upgrade for Chris Olave. I think Chris Olave can now have he can have a better season as rookies. He can have a career season easily. He's the same situation. If he doesn't put up over 1,000 receiving yards and double-digit touchdowns with Derek Carr this year, I mean, it's a bust. It's a busted season. And his current ADP is a whole 2 rounds later than Garrett Wilson. So Chris Olave is a great deal right now in fantasy, and probably cards are going a little bit undervalued as well when you consider the kind of upside that he's got. Full healthy season with Derek Carr, who's had some of the best deep ball numbers the past few years. I mean, the Saints offensive line, not terrible. I mean, I think this could be a recipe for big success here for Chris Olave to finish as maybe a borderline first round wide receiver.
One thing I will say, and this is kind of like a football cardy kind of point. So this weekend at the show, I watched Patrick Queen autograph over 1,000 items for one of his reps. So he signed for people, and then after that, one of his guys from Baltimore flew in and got a lot of things signed. He did not. He gave it his all on every autograph, and he's got a semi-elaborate autograph. It was crazy watching an athlete go through one of these things. and I know we see like like there was a Zach Wilson, him signing all those rookie ticket autos. I know, Andy, you saw that video. Man, I just couldn't imagine signing, that much stuff. It is wild. And one thing I will say about earlier autographs is, as a player ages, I just think the earlier autographs normally are better. They're flusher. You could sometimes just see how much more excited that young athlete was to sign that item. And then as time moves on, I don't know, Andy, do you see the same thing from some rookie autographs to, when players get older, they're like, oh God, it's another signing.
At 100%, man. I think we've even seen it from Jamar Chase. Like, he used to write the J Chase with the jersey number, and then now it's like JC jersey number. Eventually it's just going to be JC on everything, So I think we 100% see it, and some players are worse than others, where it just turns into a little line, and you literally go back to their first Leaf and Pro Set cards from college, and it's like, man, they were like this nice cursive in their full name, and now it's just like 2 lines. So you can only imagine how many cards they had to sign before they got to that point.
What's up, Hector? My God, Lions easily winning their division. Been buying golf. Easily.
I think they do easily win their division. And, he's a former first-round pick from 2016 for a reason, man. And the Lions really like him. If you give him a clean pocket, you give him time, he's got elite quarterback accuracy and statistics, advanced statistics. And you can see, man, there's been a lot of hype in for his product. I mean, the current trend of his Prism, PSA 10 from 2016 up to $185. I mean, that's really good, especially when you look at it's easy in 2016 because you can compare him directly to guys like Dak Prescott. Still has a lot more sold volume, but look at the trend. The same trend now between Goff and Dak, and this used to be way lower, man. Way low. If we look at the 1-year low on his Prism PSA 10, $32 back in November. It's crazy, right?
32. Now that is some ROI right there.
Yeah.
That was a Quest viewer that bought that $32 card. Did you know that, Andy?
Oh man, I'm very proud of him.
Yeah, that was me. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't me.
Yeah, and look at that Dak chart from a 52-week high of 550 all the way down now to 182. And there's now, more, I guess, report servicing that Dak's going to try and run even less, which this next year, which I'm not even sure that's possible. He didn't really run that much last year either. And I saw the same report for Josh Allen. I'm not sure if you saw that, like, reports that Josh Allen. And it was more of like in an interview. I think if any quarterback is asked, how long do you think you can keep rushing like this, without getting hurt, kind of thing. I mean, every intelligent quarterback is going to say, yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to stop running as much eventually. I'm going to have to protect my body a little bit more, especially Josh Allen, just like he takes everybody head on,
One thing about the Lions, Ben Johnson is back as their play caller. So they went from Jim Bob Cooter to Anthony Lynn to Ben Johnson. And Ben was incredible. Now, he might have been the best play caller in the NFL relative to expectations, right? Andy Reid is always going to be number one, but and Kyle. But in terms of OCs being the OC, he was so good last year for them. Very creative, did a really good job giving Goff a lot of easy completions. And, they had one of the most impactful regular season wins of the season, beating Green Bay on their turf with the playoffs on the line, going for it on 4th down, the DJ Chark pass. I love the way that they play. I love their coaching staff. And yeah, if I'm an NFL team, Ben Johnson's going to be the number one head coaching candidate next offseason. He said no to roll it to run it back with Jared Goff and the Lions. So it should be very interesting. There you go. Now, Andy, before we get out of here, any thoughts you would like to share with the football card collecting audience?
Yeah, just remember, guys, I think the ultimate common denominator in the hobby these days is scarcity, is rareness. So Jared Goff, another prime example, it correlates perfectly, parlays perfectly with the poll that we posted at the beginning of the stream, talking about the difference between the veteran card, they changed teams, and the rookie card. Rookie card's always viable, but some of these veteran cards that are case hits, that are super rare, that have some great aesthetics, and now you've got him on the new team. I think these cards do very well as well. So definitely keep your radar. Like, start looking at these at the same time that you look at the rookie cards for the player that you're interested in.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm pretty sure I shared this a little bit earlier in the stream, but I got the worst end of a trade this past weekend, but I was tired of holding on to like these base Peyton Manning rookie card that I had and a Randy Moss basic rookie card, and I got a more rare veteran Randy Moss card with a game worn swatch in there, so it was numbered, and I don't like basic. It's just not my personality. I like numbered things. I like game worn jerseys. I like parallels. That's just why I'm in here, for that rarity aspect. So I'm totally with you there, Andy. Totally. Who makes the best minivan, Andy? That's what Derek wants to know. He's building. Derek is building a family.
Man, we rented. It was the new Chrysler Dodge Caravan. It's called something else now. It's like whatever. I rented it and it was awesome, man. I rented it the last time I went on vacation, like did a road trip with the family up to the mountains and stuff. That was a fantastic minivan. It had all the bells and whistles, super comfortable. I mean, tons of room, like all kinds of electronic, everything, man. It was cool.
We're all becoming dads at some point. Well, I'm not a dad yet, but next thing you I could see you rocking the New Balances, white crew socks, khaki shorts. I like it, man.
It's comfortable shoes.
So don't forget, you guys are doing a draft show on Thursday night. Make sure you check them out with the Hitman. And here's the cool thing. You join the Patreon right now, patreon.com/footballcards. You get a one-on-one with Andy when you join. And more importantly, you'll be a part of a community. So, it's always fun to answer these questions during the stream. We're on every Tuesday, 1:30 Central. But what's cool about the Discord, it's everyone. And you're also supporting Andy. It's just a small little fee per month. And you get the articles, you get the hype cycles, you get all of that. And Andy will help set out an off-season plan to help get your collection and all that stuff moving. I highly recommend it. And until next week, guys and gals, peace out.
Peace out, guys. We'll see you next time.